Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, James Moffat, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Welcome to another edition of Featured Business brought to you by your host, myself, James Moffat, and Visibility Impact. And our featured guest today is 𝗬𝗢𝗪𝗏. Did I pronounce that? Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. Yep. Greenberg. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be.
Excellent. So, Adam, you are our 95th guest, and we're going to learn all about you.
All right, let's do it.
And as I said, our audience pop in and out all the time, but for the ones that can't make it today, the recording is here and they can catch up on that. And if they want to reach out to you, we'll have at the end, we'll just put in there your contact details, typically LinkedIn, and anything else that you want to share on how we can get in touch with you. And as I said, I'll let people in and out as we go along. I'm going to put the spotlight on you. And we're going to kind of start at the beginning. So it's a bit of a journey back through memory lane. So to get to know who is Adam and where you're from, kind of a bit about your childhood, how you grew up and how you got to be doing what you're doing now. So we will touch on, obviously, when we get there, your current role, your business, the other activities that you're involved in, and basically share whatever you wish, and then hopefully there'll be lots of people that wish to reach out and connect to you as well, can share their details. So let's make a start. So Adam, right, first of all, where are you? I mean, as in location, and where are you originally from?
Sure. Well, today I'm in my home office on the Sunshine Coast, British Columbia, just north of Vancouver. And I was born in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I grew up just in a little town called Dundas, just outside of Hamilton. Hamilton's known as the Steel City in Ontario. It's about an hour west of Toronto.
Excellent. So you also mentioned, I noticed in the notes that you also you spend a lot of time between where you are now and Mexico.
That's right. Yeah, like most of my life, that quite happened by accident. I'm curious by nature and I love adventures. And I was looking for a vacation, and someone had suggested this area in the 𝗏𝗏. Went to visit, have a vacation, and we spontaneously purchased a property and started spending more and more time there. It's a big part of my life today.
Excellent. So there wasn't any problems or challenges commuting kind of between the two?
Well, like I said, it kind of happened by accident. I was working as a sales executive for a large software company at the time. We went on vacation, and I had some big responsibilities. In the middle of the vacation, I had to leave my wife and daughter to attend to some urgent business in New York. So I said, hey, look, I'll be gone 3 days, just kind of hang out and we'll extend. So I went on business. I came back and we extended, and towards the end of that trip, it happened again. That extension happened again. I said, I'm so sorry, but this is really important. I got to go to Toronto. I flew to Toronto. I came back. We extended again. And the next year, when we were there on vacation, that same thing happened again. And my wife said, my wife works at home full time and is a full time mom as well. And she said, why do I have to go back and forth? Why can't I just stay here? And that kind of launched our living there during the winter season. And so today for the last 10 years or so, we've spent 6 months of the year there and 6 months of the year here in Canada. That's probably going to slow down a little bit as my daughter hits high school. I think we need to be focused and kind of stable in one area, but it's been great. We love the lifestyle, but yeah, it happened quite by accident.
Excellent. So I envy you because we've had a previous guest on here that lives in Mexico as well, but she's originally from Canada, actually. Mm-hmm. And kind of during kind of the COVID and everything, she was already traveling and she couldn't get back in the country. So she
Yeah.
ended up in Mexico, and she decided, "Oh, pretty nice, I'll stay here."
Yeah, well, we were one of the group, the flock of Canadian geese, if you will, who quickly exited Mexico and went back to Canada when the government called everybody home. And after spending the first kind of 6 months of the pandemic here, we thought, why are we here? There's really nothing going on. It's freezing cold outside. Everything's shut down. We have a home in Mexico. It's outdoor activities. It's warm, and felt perfectly safe there. We have insurance. We have coverage. So we went back and we spent a really good amount of time there, and just loved being there during that time. That very, very difficult time for so many. So we felt very privileged. We are very privileged, and thought, might as well just take advantage of that.
So you mentioned your wife works from home, so it doesn't matter if she's at home working from wherever in the world.
That's correct.
Excellent. And you mentioned kids. You have children?
I have a daughter. She's 12 now, and she's been going to Mexico since she was 2. And we enrolled her in school there. So she would start school here in Canada in September with everybody else. And then around the holidays, we would pull her out and put her in school in Mexico. And then when we returned in the spring, she would finish school in Canada. So now she's got that sort of multicultural perspective, has had a lot of diverse experience, speaks 2 languages. And I thought it was a really important life experience for her. Not everybody has the kind of privilege that we have, and we do have privilege, and I recognize that. And I want her to know that, and to know that there's a whole other world out there. And so she's, she attended the school with the dirt floor, and the teacher didn't speak a word of English, and she was scared, and she was upset, but she worked through it. And I think it probably taught her a lot, and will help build her character into adulthood.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, brave for her. And the fact that she speaks, I mean, English and Spanish, I mean, you could pretty much travel the whole world and be okay.
It's great. It's cool. I mean, last night we were at dinner here in Canada, in town, and I don't know why the waitress came over and asked her what she'd like, and she ordered in Spanish, and the waitress sort of froze, and I looked at her and said, "What are you doing?" She said, "What? Oh, she forgot. She's just ordered in Spanish." So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the whole family speaks Spanish then. Pretty
well.
fluent, but
No, her Spanish is much better than ours. Mine's pretty good, like in restaurants or in situations. I'm not shy to mess up. My wife's a little more shy to make mistakes, whereas I'll just speak with the Spanish words I know, and then I'll throw in the English words I know, and then go back to the Spanish words I know. And that's how I learn. I'm a situational learner. So my Spanish is okay. I can get by, but if you ask someone who speaks Spanish, they'll just shake their head and say, "You don't speak Spanish at all."
So in Mexico, is it tough to get by just speaking English?
Not at all. Many people speak English, and they're very friendly people. I mean, very friendly, very kind, and willing to try and help out and watch out for each other. So we've never had an issue. We always felt safe and welcome.
Okay, so let's kind of park that for a minute, and let's go back through memory lane. So growing up as a kid, you grew up in Canada, and
Yes.
you've got any siblings?
I do. I'm the middle child of 2. My brother, who I like to tease as the perfect golden child, with he's a professor at university now, and his wife's a teacher, and they have the 3 kids and the 2 dogs and the white picket fence. And I like to tease him. He's a great guy, and we've got a great relationship. Then I have my younger brother, and I'm right in the middle, and I'm probably like the textbook attention-seeking, rebellious middle child, I would say.
So I guess, I mean, growing up, I mean, yeah, Deborah likes that. I mean, I grew up in a family, like, I mean, there was 4 of us, and I had an elder sister, and then it was me, and then a younger brother, and then a younger sister. And I find being the middle one, you can tend to fight with both sides. I mean, not intentionally, but I mean, you fight with my big sister, and then I used to fight with my younger brother. So she was kind of the bossy boots towards me, because she was the oldest, right? So it was kind of she took charge, and then I thought, well, then I have to pass that down, and I have to be like that to my brother, and then he was like that younger sister. So yeah, but we love each other. I mean, you grew up loving and fighting, and
For sure. People, I think, not, this is a very broad statement, but especially in a family situation or close friends, you argue because you care. And so otherwise you don't bother. So we've got a great relationship in my family. We're all pretty close. My parents are very, very good people. They worked very, very hard. Not a lot of money, your traditional kind of middle class, but maybe on the lower side of middle class. My father worked multiple jobs. My mom stayed home with the three boys who were all a year apart. Later in life, she went to university, got 2 degrees, started her own business, has sold it. So she's done very well, but they worked really, really hard. And I remember growing up, and it's a small, 3-bedroom. Again, it sounds very privileged. A small 3-bedroom house. I realize that's a privileged statement, but for us, it seemed like a small house. And my brothers and I would be constantly switching who would share a bedroom games. And it was like every year I'd be with my younger brother and then my older brother, but it was always me in the middle, having to move back and forth and, using tape across the floor and trying to set up your boundaries. And so we fought a lot, but we also get along really well today. Thank goodness.
yeah, I love that. I mean, growing up, I mean, I used to share a bedroom with my brother, and we had bunk beds, and it was the fight who had the top bed. And I
Right.
thought, well, I'm the oldest. I've got to have the top bed, and it seemed to be the privilege if you had the top one.
Right.
So we would fight over that. But then when we did have separate rooms, it was like. But I also remember in the one room we had, he had one end of the room where he could have his toys, and I had the other end, I could have my toys. And
Yeah.
I am extremely tidy, and he's the opposite. And it used to drive me crazy because I had to walk through his mess to get to my bit. And I said,
Yeah.
put your toys away. Like, they're all over the place. I mean, I can imagine what it's like. I now have that battle having 3 kids. The kids all wanted, because we have twins, are the youngest ones who are 6 now, and the older brother is 9. So with the twins, they wanted a bedroom each. So they're now, my office was one of the bedrooms. So now they've hijacked my office, and that's their bedroom. So I'm in this little, well, it's a cupboard actually, but it's okay. I'm happy with that, and I do have a
Sure.
window, so it's not like a cupboard with no window. And I'm
Yeah.
over the front door, so I can keep an eye on them.
Sounds
Right.
like a Harry Potter story there.
Yeah, his was under the stairs. Yeah. So, but anyway, I know it's like. I mean, it's challenges growing up. But you're quite a sporty person as a kid.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've always been into sports. And like I said, my parents worked my father worked very, very hard to make sure that we had all the opportunities that every other kid had, or every other kid like us in our situation had, and, played hockey and soccer, and, got to go to sports tournaments. And so growing up, I think that taught me a lot about responsibility. You got to be on the field on time. It taught me about teamwork. Working together. It taught me a lot about accountability, and it taught me a lot about leadership. And growing up, I guess in high school I was probably a little bit less interested in sports. I was always still into the outdoors, though. We would do camping trips with friends and this sort of thing, but less into organized sports. It's probably just more into girls and smoking pot and that sort of teenage stuff than I was organized sports. But today I'm very, very active outdoors, mountain biking, kayaking, snowboarding, anything I can do to be outside and be active. I'm certainly doing that. And in fact, I get into something and I really love to do it. So when I moved out west and wanted to learn how to kayak, I got really into it. I got my guide certification. I started working as a guide part-time and going on long multi-day trips and really exploring what kayaking really is, and exploring this area. And that also taught me a lot about leadership and teamwork and responsibility. And the one thing that I realized, and I apply it in business today as a leader, is when I would take people on a trip, they didn't want to just paddle behind me and then end up somewhere. They really wanted to participate. Where are we going? How are we getting there? What can I do to help? What's my role in all this? And I found that surprising. And I see that in business today. People want to be communicated to. They want to know what the plan is. They want to know and participate. They want to know how they can participate and be a part of it, not just follow blindly. I don't know why it surprised me, but it did. And so today I'm very, very aware of that.
It's kind of like a guidance. I mean, you go somewhere. I mean, when you first go there and you first start to learn kayaking, you kind of, in a way, you can be clueless. Well, how do I get in it? How do I balance? How do I do it?
Right.
And so you're looking for that kind of guidance on it. And then when other new people join, then you can guide them. So and it becomes fun. So the kayaking, is it a single person or two people or?
Generally single. Yep. It's a single kayak. I mean, I've taken people out in doubles, and our family has a double. And my daughter was growing up, she had a little seat in the middle, which was kind of fun. But yeah, single sea kayaking. Multi-day expeditions is something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, we've just come back from a vacation in the Algarve in Portugal, and we're right on the sea, and it is perfectly calm sea, nice and warm, and there's loads and loads because part of the Algarve, you've got a whole bunch of caves. They stretch a long way, so you can go in and out some of them. You can go in, and there's kind of a sandy beach in some, and whatever. But they do these guided kayaking tours, and they're everywhere. It's fantastic. I mean, there's hundreds of them.
Yeah,
it looks great fun. I mean, I'm into kind of now the stand-up paddle boards, and I mean, I live in Switzerland, so the lakes are pretty flat. So I mean, it's easy to do that there. And yeah, I'm teaching the kids how to do it, although they've got better balance than me. I'm always falling in the
For
water.
sure.
Yeah, they're fishing me out.
Water sports are great, and just being out in the water is great, and being outdoors is great. And then in terms of I think you used a great word there, guidance. I mean, that's really what leadership is. It's about guiding. It's what parenting is. It's about guiding. So any leader role is really a guide, and it's all the same sort of lessons apply.
Yeah, I love the way you say that, because there's an interesting debate about leadership on LinkedIn, and you've got kind of leaders and followers, and I'm thinking that we're all leaders and we're all followers, because
that's absolutely right.
In the expertise that we have, I mean, like kayaking, you're leading others. But I kind of moved away from the leadership name and said we're actually guiding. And because once people get to a certain level, then maybe they learn a skill or something additional that you could learn from them. So they effectively could be the leader, but then I just think it's a guide. You're sharing information and know-how and guiding people on their journey.
For sure. I take it very seriously. To me, it's a tremendous responsibility. And again, when I think about kayak guiding, where this sort of awakening in my mind happened, it was a huge responsibility. People's lives literally in your hands. I mean, you're deciding when to cross a large body of water. You're responsible for helping navigate through some choppy areas. And business is similar. Maybe it's not in my business, literally their life in my hands, but I take it very seriously. The decisions I make impact people's lives, and it's important to make the right decisions. And everybody is, I agree, a leader and a follower. The president of a country is following the population, and I think we all have a role to play. It's certainly not someone's better than someone else. Authority is also an important word, right? There's the authority of people who are in power, and then there's the authority of people who have knowledge. You're an authority on something, so I will follow what you're saying, versus you're the authority in something, I'll follow you because I have to. And that's a different type of leadership style as well.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, to be the authority in a certain topic or subject, and something that you've got the knowledge in. And yeah. So anyway, I just want to look at some of the activities and things that you did. Now, you've got some memorable experiences that you want to share as being a child. And I mean, I picked them out of kind of the notes and
I think
I,
did I overshare or?
no, no. I mean, I think they're great. And yeah, if you just want to share that, I mean, there's a couple here that you mentioned. Well, I'm just kind of looking at them here, but you got a few stories that you want to share. But one time that you were, oh yeah, the one that you were arrested in New York.
Oh,
So
I knew that would come up. I knew that would come up. Yeah, that's a fun one. I guess that's where I kind of got my start in sales. I traveled around the United States as a teenager following a rock band called the Grateful Dead. So I was known as a deadhead, and I saw them 50 times, and I toured around. And it's expensive to travel, but you don't realize that as a kid. You just show up and you think, "Wow, this is great." And I started to sell stickers, and I would buy like a bunch of stickers. You know, I would buy like 1,000 of them, and pay 25 cents each. I would sell them for $1 or $2, and I would like sell out every single concert, and I was making money. And when you're young and you're partying, you know, you spend that money on things maybe that you shouldn't. And in this case, in this story, I spent some money on drugs. I bought some LSD. I bought some pot. We were drinking, and yeah, we were pulled over. The driver wasn't drinking. I just want to be clear. We were safe. We were kids. We were exploring. We were having fun. We were pushing boundaries. I think this is what teenagers do. I think if it's done safely, it can be a healthy exploration. But we made mistakes, and I was arrested in New York City with possession of drugs, and it was scary. It was scary as hell. Again, my parents are very good people, and they had my back. They came and got me, and they took me home. And you know, nothing really came of it. I was released to my parents. It was a scary situation. I learned a lot of lessons then about how society operates. I learned about individual responsibility. I learned about, you know, the boundaries of risk taking and consequences. So at the time, I wished it never happened, but looking back, I'm glad it did. It taught me a lot.
yeah, I think that these are valuable lessons that you learn in life. And sometimes it's better to kind of get them out of the way when you're younger and not do them when you're older, because the consequences
sure.
could be more challenging when you're older.
For sure, I'm very lucky it happened when I was a minor, because if it happened when I wasn't, I would have a criminal record. It would have ruined my life, right? I wouldn't have been able to travel. I wouldn't have an executive position. I wouldn't have been able to get a job. I wouldn't have the beautiful, wonderful, healthy family that I have today. And it kind of makes it's scary to think that it could have gone that way. But again, I think privileged, good family, supportive, loving parents, and that made all the difference for me.
You did have another story about kayaking in Mexico.
Was it Mexico
Or was it Mexico? I'm not sure if it was Mexico. The kayaking expedition almost got arrested and deported back to the US. So I guess it was somewhere like.
Well, it's related to the first story I just shared. Somehow, for some reason, there was a note on my file, on my record, that this incident in the United States had happened. I forgot all about it. I mean, the kayaking. So I'll share the story. Is when my daughter was born, it was a big adjustment for me. I felt almost trapped. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It was so much. I felt so much responsibility, and I felt powerless to have the life that I really enjoyed and the freedoms that I had. Obviously, having my daughter's specimen never happened to me, but in this time, I felt a little bit trapped. And you know, my wife wanted to go to Seattle on a spiritual retreat. She has a spiritual guru named 𝗬𝗓𝗏, who's like a Hindu saint. She hugs people. And there's yoga, and there's meditation, and she travels around, and there's these retreats, and people go to these retreats, and she wanted to go, and I didn't really want to go. It's not my thing, but I support her, and so her and some friends said they're going to drive to Seattle, and I said, well, I'll kayak there. So from my home here, north of Vancouver, I kayaked to Seattle. It took me It took me 6 nights, 7 days. I went by myself. I packed my stuff, and it was an amazing experience.
Wow.
But go
I'm
ahead.
amazed. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
That's a proper track. I mean, you can go there and do it.
Well, there's the San Juan Islands. So there's in the waterway here. You've got the Northern Gulf Islands, and then you cross the border, and you've got the San Juan Islands, and that takes you north of Seattle to 𝗪𝗡𝗏, and that's really where we met. And then she picked me up. But on the way, there's a little harbor called Roche Harbor, where the boats that in the pleasure craft and commercial craft, they cross the border, the international border on the waterway. And so I did my research. I'm a guide. I know where I'm going, and I've got it all mapped out. And I showed up at that waterway to check in, and he's looking at me and he's like, "Where are you going?" And I explained everything honestly, and he thought, this is a very odd situation. Why don't you come on in, have a seat? We just want to do a little digging. And during the questioning, he said, "Have you ever been arrested before in the United States?" And I said no, because it was 20 years later, and I'd been traveling internationally through my whole career. I'd never had an issue. I did not have a record. I was never convicted of anything. I got in trouble as a kid. I was arrested and let go. So it didn't occur to me. But somehow they knew about this. And the problem was that I lied. He said, you didn't tell me the truth. It's not that this happened. It's that you didn't tell me the truth. Please forgive me. I swear I forgot. And then I explained the whole story. And in the end, he said, look, I've got to make a choice here. I can send you back. I can arrest you for lying to a border officer, or I can just let you go with a warning. And, we're going to let you go with a warning this time. But please, if this ever happens again, be honest. Just be honest. I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So every time I cross the border now, my anxiety is heightened because I don't want to say yes. I don't want to admit that happened a long, long time ago. But that is a story. That is a true story. It happened to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story, but it's amazing that, 20 years earlier, that they still kept the records. And
I know. It was weird.
Yeah. And then also, it's kind of a misdemeanor kind of thing, that it was no big deal. I mean, I guess every kid was doing it at the time.
Right. Kids get caught with some dope at a concert. I wasn't hurting anyone. My parents came and got me. I was 15 or 16 years old. Like, this was a long time ago. And so, I felt I was scared, but I learned a lot as well. Again, as a member of society, you don't have full control, and you have a responsibility, and there's consequences to your actions. And so this is something that now I know and I share, and I teach my daughter about, maybe not with all these details, about if she watches this, she'll hear all about them.
So did she take after her father?
Yes and no. She takes after me in that she's very rebellious, full of confidence, not afraid to push the boundaries, and is constantly pushing the boundaries. But she's also much like my wife, whereas she's a bit more polite. She's a little bit more respectful of authority, and doesn't take the same kind of risks that I took. Although she's 12 going on 18 here, so we'll see what happens in the years to come. I think we're about to start quite an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. And she seems quite clued up in the way she can handle herself. I mean, I've seen some of the posts that you put out, and she's kind of, knows her business. I mean, you're not gonna mess with her, and her confidence at such a young age is growing exponentially.
Yeah, it's tricky to navigate for a kid with that kind of confidence, who's spent a lot of time around adults, who know what's appropriate and what's not. And a lot of adults, I hate to say it, are quite rude to kids. They don't treat them like equals. They don't treat them like people even. How many restaurants do we go to where the lady asks me, what would your daughter like to have? She's sitting right there like, hello. So she finds that difficult, but she also knows that she can't, because they're adults, she can't say to them, excuse me, that was rude. Whereas another adult might say, hey, that was rude. So kids navigating that area of adults and their role and their place in society is also very complicated very, very difficult. I think it's why teenagers have such difficulty, participating in society, and there's so much challenge. But yeah, she's very, very confident, but thankfully she has my wife's side of things where she knows how to bring it in a little bit and wait it out.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your wife is into kind of spirituality and stuff. I mean, is that something that you've delved in as well and taken a look? And is it something for you?
Yeah, it's not really for me. My spirituality, I don't really have terms for it. My church, my religion, I like to say it's love based. My worship is of the earth, is outside of being in nature. I'm a very reflective person. I like to take time to be by myself and to think, compartmentalize my thoughts. I believe in manifestation. I believe that if I want something, I can visualize it, I can achieve it. I don't know if that's spiritual practice or not. I think a lot of the same things apply. People talk about meditation. I don't sit on a rug and hum or something, but I do sit contemplatively and think and reflect and manifest. But I did participate in my wife's interest in this 𝗬𝗢𝗦𝗧 figure. She's a beautiful humanitarian in the world, runs a huge organization that does incredible charitable work. She married us in a Hindu ceremony, which is also unusual for, a white Jewish guy and a white girl from Canada to get married by a Hindu saint. But it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. And so I've explored it a little bit, but it just doesn't innately feel like I don't feel the need to go to church to pray or to sit in a room to meditate. I'm just doing this naturally in my own way.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm with you there. You don't need to go anywhere. I mean, everything is inwardly. I mean,
yeah, I don't, but others do, and that's okay. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, like I was just saying that all the answers are within us. It's just like just kind of going back to the guidance. You need guidance, and you need people to help you on that journey. And yes. I would say that, I mean, particularly that you like the outdoors. You're very connected to the earth, and all those hours that you must spend on a kayak, particularly on your own, must give you time to think and connect with the beauty of nature.
For sure, it's where I feel completely myself. In the day to day, I often feel. I mean, I like to believe that I'm authentic in my interactions, but I really truly feel like myself when I'm out kayaking and when I'm by myself.
Okay, so let's kind of move forward a little bit to what you're doing now. So,
sure,
you have your own business. I mean, I know a bit about that, but just for the audience, I mean, tell us what you do now and how did you get into that? Because reading your notes, I mean, how you got into sales wasn't a path that you were going on. It was kind of by chance.
It's true. I was, after my teenage years exploring and getting into trouble, I took a part-time job working for a friend in his office. He owned a little computer company. They were building computers, and I was just helped him out one winter answering the telephones. And I noticed lots of dentists calling. And I said this to him, lots of dentists are calling. He said, really? That's interesting, but I think you're right. We do go to a lot of dental offices. I said, well, man, you could really grow your company, like market to dentists. And he said, well, put together a business plan. And I thought, well, what's a business plan? So this is straight out of high school, right? So I went to the library, which, back then there was no Google. Went to the library and asked my brother, who's very, very smart, and he gave me a template of what a business plan looks like, and I basically just filled it in. Who's the target audience? What's the competition? What's their need? The strengths, weaknesses, all this sort of thing. And I presented it to this guy who owned this company. Went, that's amazing. How'd you like a full-time job? We could build up a sales team. I'll give you a budget, and let's go for it. And I thought, wow, okay. So we did it. We put together marketing materials, and we became the dental computer network specialists, and we grew that business from $1 million a year and 5 people in the office to 5 million plus, 25 people, big facility, captured a great percentage of the market share. We did that by faxing flyers to dental offices, so a real old school approach. man, I learned a lot. I hired a sales team, but after the year 2000 changeover, now I'm feeling old here, but everybody thought computers were going to break and the world was going to end, and business did slow down a lot. And their family was a family-owned business, starting to go through some challenges. I was recruited to another software company. Actually, the company was called Ceridian. I don't know if I'm allowed to share this. I don't see why not. It's on my LinkedIn profile. I worked for Ceridian, and I worked there in sales, and I had a lot of success in sales there. And I was eventually promoted to be the director of sales in Western Canada. I moved from the Hamilton, Toronto area to Vancouver. And I worked there for 11 years, and then I was recruited to SAP when they acquired SuccessFactors, and I was one of the first Canadian salespeople. But then I was promoted to be the vice president of sales. Long story short, my boss there left, went to another company, brought me with him. We built that company up. I went back to SAP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's led to me, about a year and a half ago, I was recruited. I was running global sales operations for a large SAP partner, and I was recruited to MakeShift as the president and CEO to help turn the company around during COVID, and to really see what the potential of the company is. The founder was looking to retire, looking for someone to come in and lead and inspire the team. And it's a great job. I'm really enjoying it. We grew 25% last year. We're growing double digits this year again. A lot of exciting stuff happening, and really enjoying it. That's what I do for a living. So it's not my business. I was recruited to run it. And I don't know how, if I'm talking too much, just interrupt me.
No. I mean, it's very interesting because, going from a very kind of humble, kind of like naive perspective on sales to just trying to help out, and then seeing where you could do something better just by observing what was going on. It's just really the essence of what we're trying to do now. We identify people have a problem, and then we say, look, well, here is something I can help you with, and then you're going to get good results. So it's kind of problem, solution, results. And you do that naturally. But when you think about it with a business model and stuff, you kind of got some tools to help you on that journey. And,
sure.
the fact that you've done it and been very successful, hats off to you, because there's many people that will go to university and study like business and everything else and be completely clueless when it comes to actually, because they're not thinking the same way.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I used to be embarrassed that I never went to university. And now something I'm very proud of now, that I did this on my own. I worked really hard. I took chances. I shared ideas. I put myself out there, and I have been very successful, and I am very proud of that. And the company that I'm representing now is very successful, and I'm proud of that. We are turning it around, and I play a role. It's not all on me. The team is amazing. But yeah, now I do want to share a little bit of a story, and I see your question, Paul, about books. Happy to answer that. When I was working at SAP, and I want to share this story because it's a big, important part of my life. When I was working for SAP, I attended a team building event where we built bicycles for inner city kids, and everyone was putting these bikes together. We didn't know what they were for. We thought it was just to learn how to work together. And then the curtain opened. All these kids are standing there. Inner city, poor kids, had never had a bike. And I felt really, really touched by that. And it really changed my life. It led to me doing a fundraiser to buy bikes for kids at an orphanage near my home in Mexico. That led to me being more and more involved in humanitarian work in Mexico, not just drinking Coronas, although I do that as well. It led to me founding a nonprofit called leaders2give.org. That's leaders with the two, give.org. And today we protect vulnerable children in developing communities and communities in crisis. We partner with other organizations, deliver free healthcare for kids, free education for kids, food security, and a home for kids. And we're building a new home for kids as well. And that's a big part of what I do. And in spending time in Mexico and doing this humanitarian work, people would come to me and say, wow, I want to come. I want to see that. I want to participate? Can you help me? Where do I stay? And can you pick me up? And that led to the creation of another business called Leaders to Inspire, which my wife runs with a colleague of mine. And it's corporate retreats, building high performance teams with purpose. So that's, that I know that's a lot of talking. That's a big part of my life. I wanted to make sure I shared that.
No, absolutely. I think it's fantastic, and I love actually what your wife does. I mean, I'm very much into, yeah, I'm very much into kind of spirituality, and I dig very deep into kind of the inner being of who you are and where you've come from and kind of what the journey is that we're going on. But everything's about helping one another. And if we can, I mean, the humanitarian stuff that you do in Mexico, I mean, we've had lots of guests from all over the world, but we had two from Colombia, and they talk about kind of the poverty there. I mean, you'll see it in Mexico, Brazil, and other places all around the world. And sometimes when you're there on a holiday or something, it's kind of, although you get those feelings and you want to help and do something, that 2 weeks later you've gone back home, and then shortly after that you kind of forget about it. But when you actually get involved and you meet people and you hear their stories, that you want to be more active. And if you can be with people that share the same passion, then it definitely helps. So I mean, I love what kind of the family does. I mean, quite a special family in that respect, doing things different, but there's a bonding that brings everything together.
That's true, for sure. I'm very proud of her and the work that she's doing. And it's a big part of our lives. I know, Paul, you asked about books, so I want to make sure I address that. I've read a lot of books. I actually prefer, fiction, but I have read a lot of business books as well. The best book I read that ties sales into business isn't about sales or business at all. It's by a retired Navy SEAL commander. His name is 𝗪𝗚𝗪𝗏. We've partnered with Rich on these retreats. He wrote a book called The Attributes. It's a short read. Highly recommend it, because the attributes are what I look for in executives that I hire, and what I look for in a sales team that I hire, and how we try to train and teach our sales team. We use the lessons in that book called The Attributes. There's a few other books. I've got some on my shelf there. Spin Selling is one. Solution Sales is another one. These are some books that I thought were really, really interesting. And then, my favorite sales book specifically is called Challenger Sale. That's an excellent book to read if you want to get into sales, or if you're in sales and just trying to kind of sharpen your skill set. Challenger Sale is a great book. James is pulling up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a couple with you. I mean, we've had quite a number of guests, and this was a guest from California, and what she's done. I mean, she's the founder of Hint, which is basically flavored water. And
excellent.
Yeah, and then she sent me some merchandise as well and whatever. I mean, she was a great guest. I mean, she told us kind of a 17-year struggle, like to get water with a hint of flavor added. But now, 17 years later, I mean, she's made it, at least in California. And been very successful. And then there's another guy. I mean, he's a good friend of mine. He lives in Australia, in Sydney, and I mean, he was a guest as well. I mean, his story about his parents moved from Italy to Australia, and they had it tough. I mean, foreigners in a country in those days was kind of like, wow, who the hell are you, kind of thing. And how they've made it. So a lot of these are very inspiring stories. But I mean, some of the books, I mean, these books we should also reference, because everybody connects with a book and certain things in it that you can leverage on and use for yourself. And I mean, there's kind of the common ones like Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or whatever, and others. But I mean, I like ones. I mean, you've mentioned something which completely not related to sales, but it's the attributes of humanity. I mean, who we are and what we bring, because a lot of people, particularly when you're applying for jobs, it's all about academical skills. What university did you go to? What qualifications did you get? And there was another debate I was in just recently now on LinkedIn about that. And people say, oh, yeah, CVs are a thing of the past, and we should look at how you actually interact and communicate with people, what you post and talk about. And I think that that's the better way forward, because I can see the person behind the skills. And I mean, like you, I've done something similar. I had an engineering background, nothing to do with sales, and got into sales by accident because I ended up like helping the sales guys. And then I thought, well, you could do it better if you did this way. And then I thought, well, actually, I could do it. And then you ended up doing the job better than the sales guy because you're thinking of it in a different way. But exactly what you said, you can think of things in a different way. You've got that persona type, whereas you can have people that kind of like, if it's not in the slide deck, then I can't present it because I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. I fall into that trap as well. And I'm constant, you know, I had a podcast, I'm not running it right now. I was terrible at it because I was so nervous to interview people, and I would write down all the questions and I'd read them, and like, you know, my colleagues and even my wife was like, oh, you're so bad at this. Whereas I feel very comfortable in this environment. I'm just being myself. I'm answering questions. I'm talking about sharing stories. So yeah, we all have attributes. We have diverse ways of being and of engaging and thinking, and that's powerful if you can tap it properly. One more book I just want to share, and this is out there because it's nothing to do with anything we're talking about, and yet when I read it, it completely changed my perspective about my life. And it was written by a guy named Rob Moore, and it's called On Trails. It's an easy read, small read, On Trails. And it just talks about the history of humans following paths and trails. And then it goes deeper and talks about animal migration, and we're all following trails. And I, in my own way, transferred this to my path. Follow your path, follow the signs, follow the trail markers. Don't veer off the trail. I just kind of turned it and went, I'm seeing signs in my life of things I need to do, and I'm not following them. I need to listen and follow the signs and take the trail. You know, I went through a health scare many years ago where I was diagnosed with cancer. And I was pushing and working and I'm going to beat it this way. And I wasn't following the signs. I wasn't listening to my body. I should have known something was wrong, but I wasn't following the signs. I wasn't on the trail. And it could have killed me. And so that gave me a real awakening. I'm better now. I'm completely cancer-free. I feel healthy and strong, but I'm paying attention to the signs now. That's a great life book. Rob Moore, On Trails.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up and get it. So you mentioned about that. A lot of the time we see this, or we don't see the signs, but the signs are there. That's the problem. We don't read the signs. I mean, it's like, I was following about kind of gut. Your gut is your second brain, and your gut tells you a lot. It tells you, like, if you walk up a dark alleyway at night, like you're apprehensive and you think, well, should I be here or not? And it's your gut telling you. And then it's also giving you the kind of the feelings, like you get the shivers or your hair stand on end or something. And it's telling you, get out of there, don't walk up there. And then your gut tells you, well, I'm hungry. Your gut's rumbling, saying, like, give me some food. Right. And like when you got an upset stomach and whatever, and you're not feeling too good, your gut is telling you, like, keep off that alcohol and whatever. So the signs are there. We just need to be able to read them a bit better.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, what you do, and as I said, again, there's a lot of overlap, I guess, with your wife. And when she does these retreats, I guess part of that is also identifying that when kind of leaders go on these retreats, like, I mean, with the retreats, do you do like outdoor activities? Do you go and do things with them as well?
I sure do. Yeah, I come in, I talk about how this all came to be. We do some hands-on work at one of the children's homes that we operate, interact with the kids. We go through some workshops that are led by Rich Divney. Again, he's the retired Navy SEAL commander, and he goes through attribute workshops. And we have fun, live music, entertainment, and there's some outdoor stuff, whether it's a pickleball seems to be a popular one, or kayaking or stand-up paddleboarding, deep sea fishing, mountain biking, you name it. It all takes place in a beautiful resort in Mexico, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. There's one coming up in November, actually.
Yeah.
If you go to
count me in, I'm coming.
Yeah, leaderstoinspire.com and check out what we do. 𝗬𝗘𝗔𝗥𝗦𝗧 is the nonprofit, and then MakeShift.ca is the business that I run to make a living, which is a workforce management, time and scheduling app focused on healthcare and retail.
Yeah, I think more so recently, particularly over the last couple of years. I mean, kind of with lockdowns, with restrictions, with mandates, with people not being able to interact with loved ones as well. And it's made them realize that there's more to life than just working. And
Sure.
you need to kind of recover. You need to connect. You need to connect with the environment, the outdoors. You need to start looking after yourself and not just go 9 to 5 and kind of be blinkered to that. And then you find out 20 years later, you come to retire or whatever, and you've not really lived. You've existed. And there's a huge difference between existing and living.
Agreed.
And what you're doing to give back is you're doing something that's a personal interest and pursuit of yours, and your wife obviously, and then I'm sure your daughter gets involved somewhere. And I also read, just digressing a bit now, about wine.
Again, right? I love wine. I didn't really understand it until I got into more senior executive roles in business, where you're spending time and kind of rubbing elbows with some heavy hitters, some older folks who've been around, and I was introduced to wine, and I thought, someone said, "Have you had this wine?" I said, "No, I normally order a beer. Try it, you're gonna love it. That is fantastic." And he taught me a few things. He said, do you understand what he asked me? Why is it fantastic? Well, it's smooth. What else are you experiencing? So we started to talk about it, and I was fascinated. I went home, I started reading about wine. Then I went and took a wine course, and then I ended up getting a sommelier certificate. And then I went and I studied wine even more closely, and I got my level 2 sommelier ticket. And then in Mexico, I said, I can open a wine shop, and we opened a wine business. It's called 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥 Wine and Tequila, and we do wine pairing events and tastings and dinners, and it's like a bit of an insanity that I do these things. But like I said, when I'm interested in something, I can't help myself. I get right into it. Yeah, I love wine.
Yeah, me too. You could do it kind of as the resort as well. You could do a wine tasting, or you could bring in exactly what you said. I did that with whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm originally from Edinburgh in Scotland, so I mean, kind of grew up with, well, not at a young age with whiskey, but anyway, with whiskey. But I had no idea what whiskey was. I said, so we did a whiskey tasting, but the guy, similar to what you explained with the wine, he said that there's 4 different whiskeys there. Now, clean your palate with some water or whatever. And then he said, right, you're not going to taste anything yet. I'm going to tell you about it. And then I'm going to get you to smell it, right? And then all of this. And then you put a little bit, just drink a little bit, but don't swallow it yet. Just roll it around your mouth and tell me what you taste.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it completely changes the way that you see wines and spirits and things, because you understand them more.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's fascinating. I guess, sort of as a final thought on that is it really drives home the importance of people living in harmony. It sounds a little cheesy, but I believe it. People living in harmony with the earth. I mean, we can't have great wines and great spirits and great experiences sitting around a table outside on a beautiful day without clean air and clean water and a balanced ecosystem. And it's our responsibility to create that and to be stewards of the planet. And I think business can be a force for good. I think we have an opportunity as businesses to innovate, to improve lives, to help businesses run better and more efficiently, cleaner, and to really get to the outcomes we're looking for as a society on a global scale.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also with the kind of the day-to-day business that you're running with MakeShift, this is all also to help with a software as a service business, and it's focused primarily on scheduling.
It is, yeah. You know, I think a lot about outcomes. You know, what do people really want? Why do they work? Well, we work to enrich our lives, to look after our families, to improve our communities. And one of the struggles people have with work, especially shift work, which is a huge population, is control of their time. It's a huge issue where people don't have control of their time, and it creates mental health issues. I can't attend my kids' soccer games. I have to work that day. Well, meanwhile, someone else can't attend or send their kid to a soccer tournament because they can't afford it and they want to pick up a shift. It doesn't need to be rigid. It could be a very flexible, dynamic world in which we could set our availability. We can switch shifts. Maybe we can even travel and go work somewhere because we have the skills, because we want to work in Italy for a day or doing something different. That's what MakeShift does. We give people some of their time back so that they can focus on what really matters to them. What really matters is different for everybody. What matters to us is a healthy and vibrant community. What matters to us is good mental health and well-being. It's better business outcomes, better patient outcomes. That's what matters to us, and that's what we do through our employee scheduling app. We allow companies to have a good sense of labor budgets, to make sure they're not burning out their employees, to switch and swap shifts, to bid on open shifts, to find out where you're missing shifts because you don't have skills, so you want to invest in skill development or recruit different demographics, etc. So we're really, really proud of that, and there's never been a better time to bring these tools into the world.
So do you focus on any particular industry sector for this?
We do. We focus on healthcare and we focus on retail.
Yeah, I can see with healthcare, because I mean, lots and lots of change of shifts. I mean, night shift, day shifts, I mean, whatever. And it's important for visibility of who's available, who could be available, who could cover
Correct.
in emergency. And yeah, also that time management. Otherwise, if you don't have that visibility, then you're kind of chasing yourself to try and find out, I need someone to cover, someone's gone sick unexpectedly, and how can I cover their work and everything? And if you don't have that in front of you, then it causes all sorts of problems. So I mean, there's kind of the hospitality as well, I guess, could do that. I mean, if you're looking at hotels and people different shifts and doing different things there, either the staff in the hotel and whatever. It could also
we have about 100,000 people who use the app across 500 companies all around the world in diverse industries: hospitality, sports, recreation, restaurants. The app was built for nurses, so it was built specifically for a hospital in Canada, for a nurse unit. And so that was the beginnings of MakeShift. But today, of course, it serves lots of diverse industries. We still have about half of our clients are in healthcare, long-term care homes, ambulatory care, some hospitals, not a lot, but very complex. And then retail is the second largest segment. And what we're being told by our customers is when they implement MakeShift, they're seeing like a 55% reduction in the time spent creating schedules. We're told that there's an 83% reduction in the time to fill open shifts. You know, people call in sick and managers are on the phone trying to find somebody, whereas you can just get an alert on your app and, oh, I can take that shift, boom. And this particular organization saw an 800% return on investment when they after a year when they were starting to use MakeShift. So it's a powerful tool, and like I said, we're proud of it. And what we really believe is the outcome is it gives people time back to focus on what really matters to them.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer not to have it, because I mean, look at those percentages of savings. I mean, time, stress as well. I mean, you create yourself no end of stress. I mean, as you said, if you had to find a person to cover a shift, and you can't find the phone number, you don't know the contact, and
Right.
and you're just chasing yourself, and then you're getting stressed, and then it's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wish you great success with there, and it seems that
Thank you, James.
that also kind of ties into what you're doing, because it's all about helping people, and
right.
if you can help people and it's reducing stress, then that's all part of kind of the bigger picture that you're looking at.
Absolutely right. Well, I appreciate that, and it's been great being on your show today, and I really appreciate the time, and happy to chat with you anytime.
Right, excellent. So, Adam, you have been our 95th guest. It's been an absolute pleasure, and to see the person behind the title, I mean, the role and whatever you do, is a magic. That's why we have these shows, because now I know more about you. I know kind of the energy and what you bring, and that resonates much more actually than necessarily the kind of the job that you're doing, because it's the person that you are.
Well, it's very kind. I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a great weekend and a great start to your day. So thank you.
You too. Take care. Nice to meet you, Paul. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
You too, James.
Wow, that was another featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Moffat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call now.